Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you are all listening to me. Okay, please text me if you are present. How many of you are present? Right. I can only see like 3, 4 students every time, but I need maximum students like who can listen to me. Right, right. So maximum we have like okay, okay. Should we start the lecture? If everybody can listen to me clearly, so I can start the lecture. And I hope everyone is fine at home. And I pray all of you that you should that you'll remain, safe at home. Do not hang outside, right? Because it's not really safe nowadays. Like the cases due to the corona are so much increasing day by day wherever the city or the region you belong, so just take care of yourself, right? Okay. Today we are going to start the lecture. I'm Dr. Salman Rashid. I hope you all remember me. I'm giving the lecture from the last like 2 months. I'm almost an assistant professor in operative dentistry. So today we are going to in the past few weeks we discussed few classes like class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I hope there was no confusion in the lectures which I have delivered. So if there is any question before the start of this lecture, you can ask me regarding class 1, 2, 3, 4, or any other point like you would like to discuss with me. Just text me so that I can answer. If there is any question, I can answer right now because today we are going to revise some of the anatomy of the tooth, right? Some of the posterior tooth, some of the anterior tooth. I hope last you remember about the class 4 caries lesion, right? So just on a brief note, can anybody or most of you tell me what is the definition of the class 4 caries lesion, right? Just in 2, 3 words. I want all of you answer. Class 4 caries lesion. I want the definition in just 2 or 3 words. Proximal angle of, okay, on proximal surfaces of the anterior teeth. Okay, proximal surfaces of the anterior teeth, right? Any specific, including the incisal angle, right? Right. Okay. Just 2, 3%. Okay. Proximal surface of the incisors and the canine, proximal incisor in the canine. Only the proximal surfaces. They won't involve any kind of the incisal angle or not. Okay. What is the difference between the class 3 and the class 4? What is the difference between the class 3 and class 4? Incisal angle, which class involves the incisal angle? Okay. Class 3 involving the incisal angle? Okay. Right. Okay. And what, okay. Last time, some of, any one of you asked about the material of choice in the class 5 caries lesion. 2 weeks back somebody asked this question. So there is a material which was basically mentioned by the principal. What was that material which is a material of choice for the class 5 caries lesion or the class 4 caries lesion? Yes. And why is that so? Okay, I know this is amalgam, but what is basically the reason, high stress area? Okay, and what and how we, and how we imagine this thing, that especially for the class 5 curious lesion, how we put the stresses, how the stresses are put in that region, that makes that area a very stressful, and that basically leads the amalgam to the for the material of choice. What is basically the mechanism? Anybody just think of that, what is the reason how that class 5 area, the cervical area, would be more and more prone for this to be that, I mean, how that area could be a stressful area? Any reason, any logic, specifically for the class 5? Okay. uh, for the class 5 carious lesion, the cervical area on the facial side, right? How, what was the mechanism, or what is the, the logic, or what is the, what are basically the actions that basically causes that class 5 carious lesion cervical area to be more stressful area? What is the reason behind that? Yes, masticative forces are high. Tooth loss is one of the reason, but due to the chewing, fissures and pit. No, it's chewing is right, but fissures and pits are not involved in it. Actually, okay. Now, okay, you all are almost we are on the same page, but mechanism is that whenever the incisal edges of the lower incisors, or you can say the incisal edges of the canine, when they basically hit the palatal side of the upper maxillary, central, lateral, or canines, right, they basically causes the forces, that forces basically, pass on from the palatal side to the facial side. They basically causes the more and more stress from the palatal side, so the force that basically pass from the mandibular incisal edge, mandibular incisal edges, that basically force causes the opening of the rods or the interrod structure on the facial side of the upper maxillary central incisors. Yes, due to the abrasion and the erosion, that is one of the factors, right? So this is the mechanism that class 5 carious lesion, either it is carious or non-carious, that area is more and more stressful. Are we clear about that? Then we are going to start our lecture today. Okay, that's great. Okay, today we are going to discuss the class 6 carious lesion, which is the which is least, not the least, basically the last in the order, but it's not least, it's very important. Okay. Okay, before discussing the classic carious lesion, I would like to have a review of some anatomical features that is very much important in order to understand that classic carious lesion. Okay, if we are concerned about the anatomy of the molar, this is basically an occlusal aspect. Occlusal aspect is that aspect of the tooth that if you're supposed to see the tooth on the top of the side, right, we can see that area. Okay. Now there are few landmarks which you need to like which I think that you need to understand these things. First of all, what is the cusp? Like, cusp is basically an elevation. These are the cusp, these are the cusp, these are the cusp, these are the cusp. Okay, this is, for example, this is buccal side, and this is a palatal side. Yeah, these are rounded elevations. That's good. Okay, these are basically the cusp. Now the first thing is that on the okay, this is maxillary tooth or this is mandibular tooth? This is maxillary or the mandibular? You need to be fast, okay? We don't have much time. This is the maxillary tooth or the mandibular tooth? Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, it's fine. Okay, first of all, then we have maxillary molar. We have four cusps. Like on the mesial side, we have two cusps. On the palatal side, we have two cusps. It's like, say for example, if this is mesial side and this is distal side, this is mesiobuccal, this is mesio, this is distobuccal, right? This is mesiopalatal, right? And this is distopalatal. So these are basically the four cusps. Okay. Now, first of all, what is basically an oblique ridge? Oblique ridge is basically a ridge that starts from the meso. This is basically an oblique ridge. Oblique ridge is that kind of a ridge that basically starts from the mesiobuccal cusp. It starts from the mesiobuccal cusp and it passes the fissure line and it ends on the distopalatal cusp. This is basically an oblique ridge. We need to understand this thing. What is the definition of the oblique ridge? It is always a ridge or the elevation. You know that it's it's a ridge or the elevation that basically starts from the mesiopalatal side and it ends to the distopalatal side. Are we clear about that? This is an oblique ridge, right? Okay. Now the second we have the transfer ridge. The transfer ridge basically starts from the distobuccal, right? Distobuccal, this is the buccal side, this is the palatal side, distobuccal to the distopalatal. This is basically a transverse ridge. Ridges, right? This is basically a transverse ridge. Mesiobuccal, oh, sorry, oblique ridge basically starts from the mesiobuccal to the distopalatal, and the transfer ridge starts basically a ridge that starts from the distobuccal to the distopalatal. This is basically a ridge, right? This is something very particular about the maxillary molars, right? So we have two ridges, oblique ridge and we have transverse ridge. Then we have the sulcus and the depression. So this is basically a sulcus and this is basically a depression, right? Okay. I hope you all remember these grooves and the supplemental grooves, right? These are basically the developmental grooves that they fail to coalesce and that basically form the grooves. And the pit is also the same area. So now we have the oblique ridge, we have transverse ridge, then we have the sulcus and the depressions, which is a common feature in the mandibular molars and the mandibular premolar also, right? Fossa and the pits we have already discussed in the last lecture. Okay, are we clear about this anatomy so that we can move forward? This oblique ridge is specific to the maxillary molars, right? You won't find it in the mandibular molars, right? Okay, great. Okay, now the transverse ridge. Transverse ridge, you may find this transverse ridge. I don't think so that you can find the transverse ridge in the mandibular molars. This is also specific for the maxillary molars, but the sulcus, depression, fissures, and the fossa, these two, three things are commonly shared by the mandibular molars, but transverse ridge and the oblique ridge, they are specific for the maxillary molars. Okay. Uh, okay. This is the maxillary molar, the mandibular molar. The students, you need to answer fast. We don't have much time. Okay, that's great. Okay. Okay, this is the most, I must appreciate that diagram present all the labeling, right? Now, say for example, if this is the mesial buccal side and this is the palatal side, say this is mesial side and this is distal side. Now, then we start from this thing. This is the mesofacial cusp or the mesobuccal cusp, right? Facial and the buccal side are the same. Don't confuse with it. This is the distofacial cusp. Now, there are two things, mesofacial cusp and the distofacial cusp. Okay. And this is basically a facial groove. What is the definition of the groove? What is the definition of the groove? You need to speed up. What is the definition of the groove? What is basically a groove? Either groove is a depression or either this is an elevation, or what is the groove? What is basically a groove? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, this is because why it is labeled as the facial side, because it is present on the facial side, that's why it has a facial groove, right? Now here we have the ridges. Ridges are basically an sort of, an elevations, ridges, because this ridge is basically present on the margin, so that's why it is referred as the marginal ridge. And since it is the distal side, so that's why this is the distal marginal ridge. Yes, narrow depression, right? That's fine. Okay. And this is the mesial marginal ridges. Ridges are basically an elevation, as you can see from on your own tooth, or I don't know, you cannot be able to see your own tooth, but if you can see the, you know, the phantom of a tooth, you can appreciate these marginal ridges. These are the mesial marginal ridges. These are the distal marginal ridges. They are only labeled according to the location. Like say, for example, this is the mesial side, and since it is present on the margin of the tooth, that's why it has the mesial marginal ridge. Then we have the distal marginal ridge. Okay. Again, revise. Again, we are going to revise the same few like quickly. Mesofacial cusp, right? This is distofacial cusp. This is the facial groove, right? This is the mesial marginal ridge. Since it is present on the mesial side and it has the elevation, that's why it is the mesial marginal ridge. Then we have the distal marginal ridge, right? Okay, now coming on the palatal side, what is that? We have the oblique ridge. What is the definition of the oblique ridge? Quick. What is the, don't see back. What is the definition of the oblique ridge? कहाँ से शुरू होती है, कहाँ पे खत्म होती है? What is the definition of the oblique ridge? Mesiobuccal cusp to the mesiobuccal to the distolingual. Okay, right. That's fine. Okay. This is the this is the oblique ridge, and this is the central fossa. And you know, this is the basically central fossa, and this is the cusp of the cerebelli. Cusp of the cerebelli. This is a particular feature of the maxillary molars, and this cusp of the cerebelli is present on the palatal side or on the buccal side. Which side is this? This is the palatal side, or this is the buccal side? Which side is this? Which side is this? Palatal, right? Okay. So this is the mesial. Okay, we have decided this thing that it is the palatal side, right? Okay, this side is mesial, or this side is distal, or this is distal, or this is mesial. What is this side? What is this side? This is mesial or this is distal? Right. So now we have come to the point that cusp of the cerebelli is present on the palatal aspect of the mesio palatal side. Like this is the mesial side, this is the palatal side. Like say, for example, we can say that cusp of the cerebelli is an identification that is present on the mesio-palatal side or the mesio-lingual side. Okay, are we clear about that? Here we have discussed three new things from the last lectures, right? First of all, we came to know about these two ridges, the oblique ridge and the transverse ridge, and that's in the cusp of the cerebelli. Okay. Now, coming of the anatomy of the mandibular molars, I am sure this is something very clear about that. How many cusps we have in the mandibular molar? Second molar, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6. How many cusps we have? 4? No. Mandibular molar. Mandibular molar. Come on, how is it possible? That's 5, 4 cusp. Okay, that's fine. Fine, fine. That's good. Okay. This is the okay, on the buccal side, on that buccal side, right? How many cusps we have? We have how many cusps we have on the buccal side? That buccal side, how many cusps we have? Who said two? I mean, this is something you need to understand. Who? No, there must be three cusps like mesio, buccal, distobuccal, and distal. That distal cusp is within the region or the boundary of the buccal side, not on the palatal, not on the lingual side. Okay. On the lingual, we have two cusps, mesiolingual and the distolingual, right? Yes, that's great. Okay. What is basically this line? This line divides into two cusps, m- distolingual and mesolingual. What is this red line denotes? Is this a groove or the depression or what? Or this is what? Yes, this is lingual groove, right? And this is buccal groove, right? Am I right or the wrong? This is buccal groove. Okay, okay, that's fine, that's fine. Right. And what about this groove? What about this groove? What you are going to label that groove? Yes, that's good. Okay, this is the central groove. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. This is central groove. Okay, so then we have the buccal groove, we have the lingual groove, we have the central groove, right? Okay. Now coming on to the anatomy of the mandibular premolar, right? Okay, this is a premolar, right? This is mandibular or the maxillary? This is the mandibular or either this is the maxillary? Maxillary. Are you sure about this? This is the maxillary premolar. Yes, it is maxillary premolar. That's fine. Okay. Uh, Coming quickly, we are going to review these things. First of all, we have the central groove, right? These are the mesial marginal. This is the mesial marginal groove, right? That basically okay. I'm going to ask you one more thing. Mesial cusp ridge of the buccal cusp. Okay, like say for example, this is a ridge, right? What you are going to label this ridge? If this is a ridge, right? Say for example, what you are going to designate this ridge? What is the name of that ridge which I'm going to, which my cursor is pointing? What is the name of that ridge? If there is a ridge. Yes, mesial marginal ridge. That's fine. This is buccal side. This is lingual side, right? We have the okay. Labeling shows, the labeling shows that this is the mesial cusp ridge of the buccal cusp, right? And this is the buccal cusp ridge of the buccal cusp ridge of the buccal cusp, and this is the distal cusp ridge of the buccal cusp. Like say for example, this is all the buccal cusp, right? This is a cusp, right? This is the buccal side of the cusp, right? On this buccal side we have the two side, the mesial side and the distal side. So we are going to label the cusp bridges. These are basically the cusp bridges. So don't confuse that marginal ridges with the cusp ridges. Cusp also has its own ridges. Each cusp has basically the four ridges, right? Yes, each cusp has a four ridges. Like say for example, on the mesial side we have two cusp ridges, and the distal side we have two cusp ridges. Like say for example, we have the mesial cusp ridge, we have the buccal cusp ridge, and we have the distal cusp ridge, right? And this is basically a lingual cusp ridge of the buccal cusp. This is all about the buccal cusp. Buccal cusp, we have four ridges. We have the mesial cusp ridge, we have the distal cusp ridge, we have the lingual cusp ridge. These all four ridges are belong to the buccal cusp, and they are designated according to their name. For example, we have the mesial cusp ridge, we have the distal cusp ridge, we have the lingual cusp ridge, and we have the buccal cusp ridge. So we came to a conclusion that a cusp has the four ridges and they are designated according to their location. One thing for sure, each cusp have four ridges. Like say for example, we have the on the mesial side we have the mesial, on the distal side we have the distal, buccal, and the lingual, right? So here we have also come to know one new thing, that each cusp has four ridges. Like say for example, we could designate as the mesial, distal, buccal, and the lingual, right? Same goes for the uh, lingual side, right? Okay. uh, this shows at the buccal triangular ridge, right? This ridge, now we have four in the lecture. We have, first of all, we have the oblique ridge, we have the transverse ridge, and we have the triangular ridge. Triangular ridge is a ridge that basically starts from the start of the cusp and it ends into the central portion. That is basically a triangular ridge. That triangular ridge you can find I'm sorry, in any tooth, right? That triangular ridge by definition starts from the start of the cusp and it ends where the cusp ends, right? Are we clear about that? Okay, what is basically this? What is this an elevations or it's basically a depression? What about this? This is elevation or this is a depression? Depression, right. That's great. Okay. Now moving forward quickly. Yes, it is an inclined plane because it's like 45 degree. That's why we can say that this is an inclined plane. Okay, I think this is the most clinical diagram, diagrammatic presentation. It is very much clear that this is the buccal side, this is lingual, this is distal, and this is mesial. Okay, first of all, we have the distal marginal ridges. This area, distal marginal ridge, this area is a mesial marginal ridges, right? If we start with the secondary structure, we have the central groove, right? On the buccal cusp, like say for example, on the buccal side, we have four cusp ridges. Each cusp has the four ridges. Can anyone name of the four ridges of on any cusp? Can anyone name of the ridges on each cusp? I want all of you to participate in the lecture. Can anyone name? Okay, it's like mesial. I am talking about the cusp ridges, right? Don't mention the mesial distal ridges. They are not the cusp ridges. Each cusp has the four ridges. Some of them you answer really good, but uh, we have four ridges on each cusp, right? First of all, we have buccal. Yes, this is the right answer. Okay. Like say for example, we have this buccal cusp, we have the lingual cusp ridge, we have the mesiobuccal triangular groove, and we have the distobuccal triangular groove, right? Then we have the distolingual triangular. These are basically grooves, right? Groove, I'm sure you all know about this, and this is basically a lingual cusp, and this is basically a pet, right? So here in the diagram, we have four cusp bridges, we have the grooves, we have the central groove, we have the triangular. Okay, what is the triangular ridge? Where it starts and where it ends? Do we triangular ridge should be somehow in that area, right? What is a triangular ridge? Don't confuse groove with the ridge. What is the definition of a triangular ridge? Where it starts and where it ends? From the cusp tip to the yes, yes, yes. That's good. From the cusp tip and where it ends to the central groove. Okay. Okay. Now this, what is that? Is this a premolar or the molar or the what? What is this? Is this a premolar or a molar or a maxillary molar or what is that? Mandibular molar? Are you guys serious about this? This is a mandibular molar. Is this a molar? I mean, look at that very much carefully. Is this a molar? Yes. This is a mandibular premolar, right? Molars, we in molar, we have we have the very pronounced cusp, we have the very pronounced ridges, right? So this is a mandibular premolar, okay? Okay, the labeling shows that some of the anatomical features, this is, for example, is a buccal side, which you can call it like the facial side also. That side, we have the lingual side, that is the distal side, and that is the mesial side. Say, for example, what is this? This structure is basically a central groove. This is the buccal cusp, right? and this is the lingual cusp. Okay, how many cusp we have in the mandibular premolar, first mandibular premolar and the second maxillary and the second mandibular premolar? How many cusp we have in the mandibular premolar? How many cusp we have? How many lingual and how many buccal? How many cusp we have on the lingual side and how many cusp on the buccal side? Cusp ki, I'm talking about the cusp. Yes, so one buccal and two lingual. No, no, we don't have the four cusp, right? Don't confuse with the figures. Not, yes, we have three. Four cusp could not be possible, right? Because from the diagrammatic presentation, you might think we have the four cusp, but this is the one cusp we defined. This is the second cusp, right? And this is basically a whole cusp area, right? So we have one buccal and we have two lingual. Yes, buccal cusp is larger, and the lingual cusp is somehow it is a smaller cusp, right? Okay. Uh, what, like, say for example, this is a mesial site, right? What is this structure? If this is a mesial site, what is that? Okay, that's fine. And what about this? What about this? Okay, that's great. Okay, one more thing. What is basically a difference between the mandibular premolars and the maxillary premolars? What is the basic difference except the cusp? There's a difference of the cusp, I understand these things, right? What is the main difference between the mandibular premolars and the maxillary premolars? If you can see your oral cavity, you can also see the difference between the maxillary premolars and the mandibular premolars. It's not about the cusp. Cusp has the differences. There are different anatomical features, but what is the main difference between the mandibular and the maxillary premolars? Size? No, it's not about the size. If you can open your mouth, occlusal surface, no, it's not about both cusp. No. Yes, there could be a difference. We, since we are not talking about the cusp and the ridges, what is the positional difference? Between the mandibular premolars and the maxillary premolars. If you can see your oral cavity, you can open your mouth and you can see the difference between the, I am saying about the positional difference. It's not about the size. Don't confuse my question with the size, cusp, ridges, elevations, depressions, fossa, pit, and the fissure. There is some other difference, not the size, nothing, not the height, right? No, nothing. Okay, only difference between the maxillary and the mandibular premolar is, no, it's not about the size. Uh, Mandibular premolars, they are somehow inclined towards the lingual side, right? If you can see your oral cavity, if you can open your mouth, you can easily appreciate that your mandibular premolars are somehow lingually tilted. They are lingually, they bent on towards the lingual side. This is not the case with the maxillary premolars 4 and 5, right? Now open your oral cavity and see this and see that difference right now. You can witness this and answer me in a second. We are going to wind up the lecture. We don't have much time for that. Are we clear about that? Right? Okay. Now moving forward. Okay, this is the incisor. Okay, first of all, my first question is this. This is an imbrication lines, right? Uh, these are basically the mesial lobe, central lobe, and this is the distal lobe, right? What is basically the height of the contour? Is this the height of the contour is, and in which plane we can see the height of the contour. What is basically the height of the contour? What is basically the height of the contour? Where this height of contour is present? Come on. This is about the last lecture. Yes, it is in the cervical third. Where this, okay, this is a curve. This is present in the cervical third. Where it is present? Proximally, right? No, no, it's not about the imbrication lines. Don't confuse the height of the contour with the imbrication lines. Imbrication lines is only and only present on the facial or the buccal side, right? It's not present on the proximal side. So this is wrong. Height of the contour. Okay, how you can see the height of the contour? You can see the height of the contour, or you can determine the height of the contour on from which side? Yes, it is the highest bulk area. That's fine. And on which side? From which side you can see the height of the contour? Middle or the distal? Middle third or the distal side? No, no. Don't you think we can see the height of the contour from the proximal side? Yes, it is in the proximal area. That's great. Okay, right. Now this is the anatomy of the canine. We have the distal side, we have the mesial side. Okay, now I have a question, right? What is this aspect? What is this aspect, right? Either this is the facial side or this is the palatal side. And okay, and how could you know that this is the palatal side? I mean, how could you know this is the palatal side, and how you are very sure about this is about the palatal side? No, it's not about the cusp. It's not okay. It's not. What is the main pinpoint? Yes, it is the cingulum. It is the cingulum. It's not about the foci. It's not about the, yes, it is the cingulum. Cingulum is the highest depression that is present, highest elevation that is present on the palatal side, right, on the canine region, right? And then we have, the conventional thing. We have the lingual cusp ridge. We have the lingual cusp, right? We have the distal marginal ridge. We have the mesial marginal ridges. We have the mesolingual grooves. These are the things which you have already known about this. Okay, are we clear about that? Okay. Uh, okay, I need to ask you one more thing. Okay, that's great. Okay, now here we have the class 6 cavity. Class 6 cavity is something really, really important. You need to understand the concept of this class 6. First of all, the definition says that the cavity is on the incisal edge of the anterior teeth or the occlusal cusp height of the posterior teeth. Like say, for example, if some cavity is, if it is not on the incisal, it should be on the incisal edge. Incisal edge is, don't confuse the incisal edge and the incisal angle. And the posterior cusp height of the posterior teeth is the class 6. Like say, for example, if the carious lesion is present on that side, or that side on the cusp, these are basically the class 6 carious lesions, right? If it is on the premolars, we have this side and this side, right, on the posterior tooth. This is also again the presentation. This is the, occlusal cusp. Any cavity that is present on the occlusal cusp, right, is basically the class 6 carious lesion. This is the class 6 and this is the class 6 and this is also the class 6 carious lesions. Okay, and this is the class 5, right? This is also okay, worn away due to the abrasion. What is the, okay, first of all, tell me one thing. What is abrasion? What is the definition of abrasion? What is the abrasion? How the tooth worn away? What is the definition of the abrasion? What is the definition of the abrasion? No, it's not about the grinding of the tooth. Grinding of the tooth is adhesion. Process of wearing. It's okay. It's about the wear and the tear. Okay. Now you are going to listen four things, right? Okay. here I'm going to clear the concept of the abrasion. Abrasion is something like that, you know, when you're supposed to brush your teeth very hard, or when you're supposed to, you know, rub any external thing on the tooth, that is basically we have abrasion, you know. We have abrasives in the toothpaste, we have abrasives in the other, yes, it is, yes, brushing hard. Okay, you need to understand that concept, that hard brushing or hard miswak, or you can say, you know, some people supposed to rub, you know, the external surface of the lemon on their you know, or any dandasa on their tooth, that basically that kind of the wear, by all these things, they are basically in abrasion, right? Clear? And what is basically an attrition? Attrition is that, like when you're supposed to grind your teeth, right, without any external stimulus, or when you're supposed to, when the you know, when the incisal edges or the incisal area or the occlusal surface area becomes flat, that is basically an attrition, right? No, trauma or the discoloration is something else. Weakening is something else. No, no, it's not about the trauma or the weakening or the discoloration. Discoloration could be of any tooth. This trauma could be of any tooth. Trauma or the discoloration won't lead to the adhesion or the abrasion, right? So I have discussed just two things, adhesion and the abrasion, right? And the third, we have the erosion. Erosion is like that when you're supposed to eat, drink more and more citrus fruits, all the surfaces, all the palatal surfaces of the maxillary anterior tooth, they are wear off. All the palatal surfaces of the maxillary molar and the premolars, they are already wear off, right? So this is basically an erosion. So the difference between the adhesion, abrasion, and the erosion is all about the stimulus. Erosion, the causes of the erosion are basically vomiting. We have the citrus fruits use. We have the more and more junk food. We have other gastric upsets. We have regurgitation. All these things basically leads to the erosion. Adhesion is basically a grinding of a tooth, right? We are supposed to grind the tooth at night, or you know, the pan chewing or any other betel nut chewing habits. They basically causes the wear of the incisal edges or the occlusal surfaces. That is adhesion. And the third, we have the abrasion. Abrasion is basically when we are supposed to rub our teeth. Abrasion is, no, smoking doesn't lead to any kind of adhesion, abrasion, or affection. No, smoking only and only causes a discoloration and produce the harmful effect on the gingiva and the periodontium. Okay, are we clear about these definitions? I'm going to ask you, inshallah ta'ala, next time. Okay. Okay, this is the diagrammatic presentation. The buccal, the cusp, on the cusp, we have the classic carious lesion. Okay, this, okay, like say for example, we have the carious lesion on the incisal edge. This is the incisal edge starts from this side to this side, right? If whole that area involves the carious lesion, that is the classic carious lesion. Like say for example, if we have the carious lesion only on this side, if we have the carious lesion on this side, right, then what is the class we have? On this side is we have the carious lesion. Then what is the class? No, no, it's not about the class 5. No, come on, students. If carious lesion is present on this side, this is the palatal. If on the pit and the fissure on the palatal side, which class is this? Yes, this is the class 1. Only one student answer about this. This is the class 1. Okay, I'm going to, yes, this is the class 1. If the carious lesion is present on that side, this is the class 1. On that side, this is facial side and this is palatal side, right? Okay, if the carious lesion is present in the cervical third, what is the class we have? Yes. शेयरिंग रुक गई है यहाँ से रिज्यूम होगी शेयर okay. Okay, these are basically the few cardinal steps, which we already discussed, like outline form, obtaining the resistance and retention features. We have the required resistance convenience form, removal of all the carious lesion, finishing of the enamel margins, and the cavity toilet. I hope you remember all these things from the last lectures, because these are the steps which are very much clear, which is very much common to every class of the cavity. Okay, are we clear about that? Should we move forward? Okay. Now, what is the steps in the class 6 cavity preparation? The class 6 cavity preparation, we are supposed to enter that class 6 area with a small fissure burr, right? And this is basically a small fissure burr. From that burr, we are going to enter the area. We are supposed to clean the area to the depth of 1.5 millimeter to provide the sufficient bulk of the restorative material. Like, say for example, this is 1.5 millimeter of the initial depth, right? We are entering, and that is the fissure burr. Okay, we are supposed to enter. We are supposed to enter the fissure burr in that area up to the depth of 1.5 millimeter, right? And then we are supposed to retention of the restoration. How we are going to retain the restoration? By undercuts, right? And what is basically an undercut? Undercut are basically, these are dentinal undercuts, and we need to design these undercuts into that carious lesion. We start with the burr, right? A small fissure burr, depth of 1.5 millimeter, and the small undercuts would be like that. We need to produce these into that structures, right? Are we clear about that? Should we move forward? Okay. Okay, that's great. Okay. For the class 6 carious lesion, there are two material of the choices which most commonly we used. First of all, we have the amalgam and the composites, right? So for the amalgam, first of all, we need to prepare the cavity. Okay, my question is, how we are going to achieve the retention and the resistance, except those undercuts, for especially for the composites? What is the mechanism behind it, if we are going to achieve the maximum retention and the resistance, especially for the composite restorations? So students, you need to answer it very fast. Okay, what is, on which structure the bonding of the composite depends on? I told you this in the last lecture when I am discussing the class 4 carious lesion and the class 3 especially. I won't answer. Nobody's answering. That means you won't understand the maximum retention, the resistance, especially in case of the composites. Okay, who answer? No, it's not about the base. It's not about the. Yes, it's about the enamel. The quality of the quantity and the quality of the enamel, the roughness of the enamel, that basically depends on the bonding of the composite to the tooth structure. Okay. Okay. Here we have the restored carious lesion. This is the carious lesion, and on that, okay. Which cusp is that? Which cusp is that? Which cusp is that? Answer me very fast. Which cusp is that? Yes, it is distobuccal. Yes. Okay. Then we have the amalgam. Okay, I'm going to ask you one thing, right? Which is something very much clear. What about this class of the cavity? What about this class of the cavity? This is restored by the amalgam. This is basically restored by the amalgam. This is class what? This is which class is this? Which class is this? No, no. Uh, 6 is mentioned on the slide, but I am asking you which amalgam is restored in that cavity. Which, what about this cavity? What about this cavity? What about this cavity? Just look on that picture. No, it's not class 3. How is it possible? This is the molar. And how is it class 5? No, it's not about the class 2. It's not about the class 2. You need to, oh my God, you need to see that stuff again. This is class 2. This involve the proximal edges. This involve the proximal edges. Does it involve any kind of the proximal edge? Does it involve any kind of the proximal edge? This is the palatal side. This is the this is the lingual side. I'm sorry. Yes, this is, for God's sake, this is the class 1. Don't confuse with this. Class 1 may extend on the buccal or the lingual side, right? You need to first understand this is the pit and the fissure that would be restored, and and that basically extend on the buccal or the lingual side. This is class 2. This is class 2. Uh, yes, lingual third is may also include. It's not, yes, the one third of the lingual or the buccal or the both sides can also include, but it, yes, I know. Please, so you are not supposed to copy each other. Use your common sense, right? Just use your common sense. Whatever I'm asking. If you are supposed to copy each other, you won't understand the concept of anything. Believe me or not. Okay. Now this is class 1. It is restored with the amalgam. This is class 2 because it involves the both proximal edge like mesial side and the distal side. This is also class 2, and this is class 6, right? Thank you for that. That you guys are using your common sense. Don't copy each other. Okay. Okay. So any confusion up till now? We almost completed. I almost completed my lecture. If any confusion, just ask me. And this is the ending note you have. So keep this in mind that there is no elevator to the success. You need to take the stairs if you really need to go. You know, up to the top level for to achieve anything. Okay. So anything would you like to ask me, and what about the feedback of the lecture? All cleared? Any confusion? Are you happy with that lecture? You know that the interactive section we have. Enamel. Okay. Enamel is for the composite restorations, the bonding of the composite or or the retention or the resistance of the composite is totally depends on the quality and the quantity of the enamel. If the enamel is won't be of good quality, that composite restoration won't be adhere, because the first step of the composite is the placement of the phosphoric acid. That phosphoric acid basically causes they basically forms the tags within the enamel, right? And that tags being filled by the composite, so they have an interlocking mechanism. If the tags won't, or if the if the small holes won't be made by the phosphoric acid, that composite would never be appropriately bind with that tooth structure. Okay. uh, Restoration. Okay, for any kind of the restoration, that is the high stress areas. Like high stress areas means in our oral cavity, we have the cusp, we have the high stress areas, we have the class 5 stress areas. On all those areas, we need good retention and the resistance, because these are basically the sites that are much and more prone to being fractured. So that's why we need, if like say for example, if some patient has the very high stress areas and the restoration, the composite or the amalgam restorations won't be good for that, then we are supposed to cap that area in order to prevent the tooth structure from being fractured. Is that clear? Anything would you like to ask me? Do you understand these, the interactive section we have, like the way I'm going to ask you, I mean, anything would you like to mention? Like, I mean, anyway, you can think that, the interaction would be good. Okay, students, inshallah ta'ala, I'll see you on next visit. So stay home and be safe. Allah Hafiz.